Mario been watching since a baby, so I'm representing Casey Mo. Casey Mo. I'm representing Casey Mo. Y'all ain't messing with Casey Mo.
This is the Richard Smith Show, where we talk about all things Kansas City Chiefs. How are we doing, Chiefs Kingdom? It is Monday, October 29th, and we took care of the Denver Broncos yesterday, 30-23. It was a great game, a close divisional game. I think we all assumed that we would blow Denver out of the water, but that doesn't seem to be the case. We really need to understand that, that's our biggest divisional rival, and we take that seriously, and they do too, but we came out on top, 30-23, but it just, hey, overall, great game. Great way to get the middle of the season underway here. Look, we just got past the toughest stretch in our schedule, and we come out smelling like a rose. 7-1. So to kind of dig a little bit deeper into that game yesterday, I'm just going to put it out there. Kansas City's defensive secondary is just flat out horrible. Like, we look terrible. Terrible. And I know that we're victim to injuries and trades and cuts and, all these things. But, man, do we not just look absolutely terrible? I feel like that these teams are playing, a college scout team out there when it comes to our defensive secondary. I mean, they're just getting picked apart left and right. But with that being said, we're still 7-1. And, as much as I want to pick on the defense, I'm going to kind of elaborate on the defense today because, look, yesterday Dee Ford had 3 sacks. And a forced fumble recovered by Braylon Speaks. And if you haven't followed Dee Ford this year and you're not really on the radar with him, he has 8 sacks on the year. That's tied for second in the league as far as sack leaders. 8 sacks on the year. So just keep that in mind. Dee Ford is having a very, very productive year. And I really like what Speaks is doing too. The last 2 games that he's got to start and play, he's done a very, very great job there in the linebacking core. When he's in there, he's all over the field making plays, and I really like seeing that. He's a big body guy that can move, so it's fun seeing him get around on the field and make those huge plays. Kareem Hunt, gosh, it seems like week in and week out, we're talking about some amazing play, but I'll tell you what, that play yesterday, where he leaped over that defender, and then drug another defender or 2 into the end zone. That was just an amazing play. And you expect those things out of players like, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes. But Kareem's Hunt is no slouch too, and nobody needs to look over him. And I know, here in Chiefs Kingdom we don't, but I think he, once again, he's making a name for himself, 2nd year in a row. Last year, he just led the league in rushing. No big deal or anything. So it's one of those amazing situations for the Kansas City Chiefs that we just have some of the best talents in the league, and they all play on our team at the same time. Another big play on the defense, Kendall Fuller, clutch interception. Clutch towards the end of the game. It was a flea flicker play back to the quarterback from the running back. And Kendall Fuller came all the way across the field. And, he was behind the defender, but, the ball trajectory and where they both ended up, Kendall Fuller made a diving interception to give the ball back to the Chiefs and essentially help us run down the clock to win the game. So Fuller, great interception. That was really, really clutch, key pivotal point in the game, and we really, really needed that. So it was freaking awesome to see our defense step up once again, and I'm happy to say that, as terrible as they can be at times they really, really have saved us. So I can't complain at all about that. It just is one of those situations that is, you get what you get, and you take what you take, and we're kind of like a bend and try not to break defense. So, but it's working out for us. So I'm starting this new segment here in my broadcast, and it's going to be called From a Fan. And in this segment, I scour social media and find the top 3 reactions from both sides of the football from the previous game. And that would be talking about the Chiefs and the Broncos. So, and keep in mind, these are censored. I don't want to put, a lot of things on here that I normally find hilarious. So I have to be picky and choosy. And these are the ones that I came up with. And this first one's from Brandy from Kansas City. It's hilarious that Donkey fans are calling out my Chiefs now that they beat a team that's the equivalent to Appalachian State. We're going to blow the doors off at Arrowhead. They had their close game now. It's statement time. Your 40-point butt kicking awaits. I really like that because she was talking about, the Broncos beating a team that had the equivalent of Appalachian State. It just really cracked me up. And, that was a statement made before the game, but I just really enjoyed that comment about Appalachian State. I thought that was pretty funny because, the Denver Broncos really are no better than Appalachian State right now. That's no joke. Okay, James from Kansas City. All right, Chiefs fans, we beat the Broncos again, but really not an accomplishment to dwell on. They just aren't that good anymore. On to the next victims. James, I kind of agree with you on that one. I also understand that in Chiefs Kingdom right now, we are at above excellent scenario as far as where our team lies in talent. So, yeah, the Broncos aren't that good, but they're not that terrible either. So you have to understand the comparison between the two teams right now that you're comparing. The Chiefs just stepped up in one season from, a potential first round bye or a wild card to home field advantage and possibly Super Bowl contender. Not a possible, we are Super Bowl contenders. So, and that's not the caliber team that Denver has. So, I do understand what you're saying, but it's still a divisional win, and it does make a difference with our season and where it ends up. So, okay, Chauncey from Kansas City, let me just stop you there. Your Broncos suck. Just stop. To me, that just sums it up. That's the exclamation point on the top 2 that I picked. Yeah, the Broncos, they just kind of suck right now. They're not horrible, but they're not a Kansas City caliber team. Although, they're still sitting in 3rd place in the AFC West, and by any other standards in division play, they might, if they were in any other division, they might be doing better than they are right now. So let's put it that way. But anyway, yeah, Broncos, you suck. So, reactions from Denver. Brianna from Denver. I'll be one of the Broncos fans to say congrats to the Chiefs fans. It was a close game, but a win is a win. On to the next game. Well, I had to copy and paste that and then, put this on the broadcast because, well, I've never heard anything like that come out of a Broncos fan's mouth in my entire life. So, kudos to you, Brianna. You are 1 in a trillion. Thomas, Denver. I'll put $50 on the Chargers beating KC later this season. First person to comment, I accept with their PayPal email. I'm a man of my word. You heard it first from me. Well, really first from Thomas, but second from me. He'll put $50 on the Chargers beating Kansas City later this season. First person to comment, I accept with their PayPal email. I'm a man of my word. So look up Thomas from Denver. There's probably a lot of them. I don't know his last name. I am not legally obligated, I'm not allowed to say his last name. So anyway, put $50 on Chargers beating Kansas City, huh? Well, you are a true Denver Broncos fan. You have more faith in the Chargers beating Kansas City than Denver beating Kansas City, because I don't see any post from you last week about saying I have $50 on Denver beating Kansas City. So nice one there, Thomas. That was a really clever way to make yourself look really stupid. True Denver fan. Edward, Denver Broncos fan. Looks like the refs bought another win for a Broncos opponent. Yeah, okay, so what about the other 6 wins this year there? Edward from Denver. Looks like the refs bought another win for a Broncos opponent. Well, it really actually looks like John Elway bought another trash quarterback from I really don't know where and dug up a crappy coach from who knows where. And got a crappy running back from I really don't know where. And I don't know any other players on their team besides maybe 4. And that's awkward for a Denver Broncos team, especially you being our arch rivals. But Edward, yeah. Hey, look, buddy. You win some, you lose some. Unless you're playing the Chiefs and you just lose all of them. So that concludes our From a Fan segment. That was kind of fun. I enjoyed that. I think we're going to keep doing that from, each week. And see where we can go with that, because that really was cool. So it really was an amazing game. It was nice to see Sammy Watkins get 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce with the receiving touchdown, and Kareem Hunt. And everybody seems to be on the same page. So it's just exciting as a Kansas City Chiefs fan to hear these guys be selfless and understand that the ball needs to be spread around. And they're good at understanding that. It's great. It's really great. I really enjoyed this year being a Kansas City Chiefs fan and broadcaster.
He's also one of the best when he can get out of the pocket, but it's just been something that we've all harped on, and just make sure that route runners were on time and that the old line is back there working for everybody. I think it's the way our mentality is as a whole, as an offense, that's really getting us these touchdowns and getting us these wins. And when 1-5 can set it.
So it's just the consistency of the selfless play, and you hear that from Travis Kelce there. That the most important thing is wins. And when you understand that, and you understand that, from week to week, your numbers could change. And Watkins said that himself. He understands that, hey, I can have a 130-yard game with 2 touchdowns, and next week I can come out and get a 30-yard receiving game. But that's just what it's about. But when you're 7-1, you understand, the bigger picture, and you understand the outcome is way greater than any personal accomplishment that you could, receive for a year in the NFL. A Super Bowl is way more important than an MVP, even though we might have 4 of those on our team, which is so amazing, so amazing. Okay, so let's touch base on the trade deadline. Trade deadline is tomorrow, Tuesday, October 30th at 4 p.m., and we really haven't heard any splashes from Kansas City. Haven't heard anything at all coming out of there as far as any prospects of trades of any kind. But I also haven't heard anything around the league at all, and I've been paying attention to it, trying to keep up with it. But there's, the New England game is going on right now. But there's discussions, but nobody's pulled the trigger yet. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with Kansas City. I mean, we really could use the defensive back. I could argue the fact that, we just keep what we have and see what happens with Sorensen and Barry coming back. As long as Barry comes back, and I'm really interested to see what's going on with him. I haven't really touched base on that too much because I don't know much about the Eric Berry situation. What I do know is he's not playing. And that's the number one thing. But they're not putting him on the IR. So if he's not on the IR, then there's a chance that he can come back this season. And if he's going to come back, let's just bring him back for the playoffs. That's really what I see is happening with him. And, we'll just kind of have to ride out the wave with Eric Berry and see where it lands. I really hate to see this happen, and I hate to say that it could be over, but you never know. You never know. But look, it's one of those things. This is football, next man up, and we really have a solid team on the field that's, putting up big numbers and putting up victories, and that's really what matters. So, with that, the trade deadline, like I said, is tomorrow. We're still not really doing a whole lot as far as any news out there about possible trades or anything. So let's move on to the stats of the, Broncos-Chiefs game yesterday. Patrick Mahomes was 24 for 34, 303 yards and 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. Kareem Hunt was 16 carries for 50 yards. And he had a receiving touchdown, no rushing touchdowns this game. Sammy Watkins had 8 receptions for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce, 6 receptions for 79 yards and a touchdown. Kareem Hunt, 5 receptions, 36 yards and a touchdown. Defense really stepped up and had a big day. I was really pleased to see Dee Ford get his 3 sacks, and like I said earlier in the broadcast, as 8 on the year. Keep an eye on him because he's second in the league. Let's see who else. Oh, Kendall Fuller had an interception at a pivotal point in the game. Really, really pivotal point. Braylon Speaks had a sack and a fumble recovery due to a forced fumble by Dee Ford. So again, I said that earlier, but that is a stat that absolutely can be repeated. Chris Jones had a sack this game. So our defense really, really, really stepped up. It was nice to see. It's no secret that we have the best offense and best special teams in the league, and it's really shining and showing through here at this point. But our defense really needs to step up because, we're kind of getting torched out there. Case Keenum threw a couple touchdowns. He had 262 yards. Phillip Lindsay had 95 yards rushing and a touchdown. Nobody broke 100 yards receiving on us, so that's pretty nice to see. Really, Lindsay didn't break 100 yards either. So overall, I guess it really wasn't a bad game. We held them to 23 points, but I still think we can do better. I still think we can do better. So, kind of some big news, funny news coming out of Cleveland today, and not surprising. Hugh Jackson and offensive coordinator Todd Haley out in Cleveland today. Sayonara, deuces, go find another job. Your services are not needed. And I'm not surprised by either of these moves, especially given John Dorsey being the GM over there. There's some big-time moves happening in Cleveland, and look for the Cleveland Browns to really step it up here this year. The next 2 years are going to be pretty awesome for the Brownies fans over there. So I'm happy with that. It doesn't affect anything here in Kansas City, even though we play them next week. So, hey, look, that's one of those things. Yes, Hugh Jackson, Todd Haley out. We don't know. I think defensive coordinator is the interim coach right now. So we'll see what happens. Chiefs, Browns this Sunday, noon Arrowhead time, but it is being played in Cleveland. So I will have a pregame special on that. There's going to be a lot to talk about there, especially with Cleveland. I'll touch base on a lot of nice scenarios that have happened over the years here in Cleveland, and a lot of nice scenarios that have happened over the years here in Kansas City. But, gosh, it's been rough for the Cleveland Browns and their fan base. I feel for you. I do. But I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and I'm not worried about how the Browns feel, especially since we play them this weekend. But this segment isn't even about the Browns. This segment is about the Kansas City Chiefs beating our division rivals, Denver Broncos, 30-23. And it was a really fun game. It was a good game to watch. It was not a blowout. I think that we need to expect that from here on out from Denver. But hey, the Chiefs are 7-1, and we are moving on next week to the Cleveland Browns. So, Kansas City, you have a great night. That was a great game yesterday. I look forward to this one coming up. And, hey, look, we need a bye week here. We've been beat into the ground and, come out smelling like a rose. So, let's give these boys a break and head into the easy part of the schedule and ride out into home field advantage. So, Chiefs Kingdom, hey, that was a great game. You all enjoy your night. This is the Richard Smith Show, where we talk about all things Kansas City Chiefs.